He walked past me laughing with a group of junior execs and dropped his half-empty coffee cup right at my feet. Not in my hand, not in the trash. On the floor, I bent down, picked it up, and wiped the spill while he kept walking. He didn't look back. He didn't say thank you. He didn't know. He just disrespected the woman who built the company he now claimed as his own. Let me rewind, not to the beginning, but to the part where everything cracked. I didn't lose my company overnight. It eroded slowly like a foundation. No one realized was crumbling. I was the one who started it. 3 desks in a rented co-working space. 1 coffee machine and an idea too bold for its time. For years, I poured everything I had into it. Time, money, relationships, my health. It grew. We got investors, we moved into real offices. We hired real teams, and then came the board. You know, the kind polished smiles, polished shoes, polished lies. And when they told me I was too closely associated with the early stage brand, I knew what they meant. You built it, now step aside so we can sell it. They didn't fire me, they just voted to restructure. And I was left outside the very doors I'd unlocked every morning for 8 years. A year passed, I tried to move on, but the stories started rolling in from former employees' toxic culture, firings without cause, ideas stolen, credit misplaced. The company I loved was now unrecognizable, so I applied for a contractor position as a janitor. New name, different hairstyle, minimum wage, and no one recognized me. I had hired Marissa 3 years into building the company. Back then, she was all ideas and energy, ambitious, well-spoken, the kind of person who knew how to command a room. I mentored her, promoted her, defended her. When others said she was too sharp, she used that sharpness, well, cut me right out when the timing was right. Now she sat in the same boardroom I once designed, wearing my title saying things like, "This is where innovation happens." But I saw the VP who called himself a visionary. While repeating strategies I'd created years ago, I saw the new CEO smile on Zoom, while his assistant cried in the supply closet. I saw junior developers overworked, under-mentored, and too scared to speak up. And I took notes. Every night after my shift, I wrote down everything I saw, every whisper, every email left open on an unlocked screen, every slight. Not because I was vengeful, because I still cared. This wasn't just a company, it was my legacy, and I wasn't about to watch them destroy it with their polished lies and empty suits. I was bent over a trash can when I heard her say it. Honestly, Marissa laughed. She was great at building a cute startup, but scaling a real company. Please. There it was. Me. She didn't know I was 10 feet away, wiping down a smudged conference table, didn't see me pause, cloth midair, as the room chuckled behind her. Visionary, sure, she added, but we're lucky she stepped aside. That was the part that made me clench my jaw. I didn't step aside, I was voted out by her. The irony, she hadn't innovated a thing in her life. No one recognized me, of course. Not in janitor scrubs, not with my hair pinned back and a name tag that read, Linda, I had created this company from nothing, hiring the first 3 developers in a coffee shop, pitching in parking lots, assembling desks by hand. And now the only thing I assembled was trash bags in the supply closet. That week I started listening more closely. The finance department joked about unpaid overtime like it was normal. HR ignored whispers of burnout. Interns cycled through like coffee filters used, squeezed dry, tossed out. One afternoon, while scrubbing a whiteboard, I found a list of employee names. Some were crossed out. Others had question marks. A note at the bottom read, "Trim by Q3." The culture we built, collaborative, human, mission-driven, was gone. It had been replaced with slogans on glass walls and Friday wellness emails no one read. One night, a young woman, Layla, a marketing assistant, lingered after hours. She smiled at me, offered a leftover sandwich, and said softly, "It's weird. I don't even know who's really in charge anymore." She didn't know she was talking to the founder, she just knew something was off. That's when I decided I wouldn't just observe, I'd document. I started writing everything down. What I saw, what I heard, the hypocrisies hiding in plain sight. Photos of memos, Slack messages left open, tone-deaf presentations about culture fit. I created a folder on a private drive labeled Notes from the Floor. People assume you need power to create change. A title, a corner office, a badge that says leadership. But I've learned something else. Sometimes the greatest power comes from being invisible, because when they think you're no one, they speak freely. They show you who they really are. It started with a forgotten flash drive. I found it on a table in the break room, plugged into a laptop one of the junior staff had left unattended. The screen was still lit. A folder labeled Q3 Bonus Projections was open, curious. I glanced inside were spreadsheets and internal notes. One tab caught my eye. Team bonus adjustments. The bonuses for the executive suite were marked in green, double what had been reported to the staff. Meanwhile, team leads, some of whom I'd mentored years ago, were listed with a comment beside their name, low morale risk. Will stay without increase. They weren't rewarding loyalty, they were exploiting it. I didn't copy the file, I didn't have to, I memorized what I needed. That night I began keeping a digital journal. Not just scribbled notes on napkins, but structured evidence, dates, names, quotes, a spreadsheet of my own. The following week I overheard something that made my skin crawl. Two senior managers were chatting outside the elevator. One asked, "Did Layla ever report that thing about her manager?" The other shrugged. "Even if she did, HR's in Marissa's pocket. You know that Layla, the sweet intern who stayed late, the one who whispered to me about skipped lunches and unpaid overtime. That night I brought her a tea while she was packing up her things. 'I'm leaving,' she said. It's not worth it anymore." I asked if she had reported what happened. She looked at me tired, defeated, and said I did. They asked me what I was wearing when he said it. I didn't respond. I just nodded. But inside, something shifted. I wasn't just gathering proof for myself anymore. I was gathering it for women like her. I started staying late, not as a janitor. As a witness, I cleaned with one hand and recorded notes with the other. I memorized the layout of the executive suite. I timed how long the cameras in the hallway blinked during resets. I didn't have access to every office. But I had access to their trash, their whiteboards, their crumbs. I watched them rehearse lies for press calls. I saw them coach employees before feedback reviews. It wasn't a company anymore. It was a stage. And Marissa, she wasn't leading it, she was performing. Then came the final straw. I found a document in the shred bin. It had been torn in half, but not destroyed. It was a memo draft titled Proposed Narrative, Founding History for Investors. My name was nowhere in it. Instead, it described Marissa and another board member as the original visionaries behind the company's launch. They were rewriting the story, rewriting me. That was the moment I decided to speak, not to them, to the world. I reached out to a journalist I once mentored in our early PR days, a woman named Naomi Smart, fierce, unafraid. She picked up on the first ring. "You disappeared," she said. "No," I told her, "I just changed uniforms." That weekend, we met in a diner 2 towns over. I handed her a USB drive with everything I had collected. "You sure you want to do this anonymously?" she asked. "For now," I said. "Let them react to the facts first. My name can wait." She smiled. "This is going to shake some glass walls." I didn't smile back, because I wasn't looking to shake anything. I was planning to break it open. I didn't expect it to blow up. The article was supposed to land quietly, one of those niche investigative pieces that made the rounds in industry Slack channels and HR forums. Instead, it spread like fire in a dry forest. The headline read, "The founder who disappeared and the company that pretended she never existed" below it. Naomi detailed everything: the culture of silence, the doctored bonus sheets, the HR neglect, and the erasure of the woman who started it all. She didn't use my name, but people connected the dots fast. By lunchtime, my old company's LinkedIn page turned into a war zone. Comments poured in under every post, alumni, former interns, current employees all asking the same question: is this true? Was she really pushed out? Why did no one say anything? By 4 p.m., the board issued a vague statement. "We take these allegations seriously and are conducting an internal review." Classic. No denial, no accountability, just corporate theater. But what surprised me most wasn't the reaction from the public. It was what happened inside the building. Layla messaged me anonymously. They pulled us all into an emergency meeting, told us to stay off social media and stay focused on our roles. Marissa hasn't shown up all day. Another junior staffer sent a screenshot of an email subject line: urgent, all staff meeting tomorrow. Time 9:00 a.m. Location. Executive conference room attendees required. I knew what was coming. That night, I walked into the building like usual. No one paid me any attention, just the cleaning lady finishing up a hallway floor, but the tension. It buzzed through the air like static. I paused by the break room. The door was cracked open. Inside, I saw two employees whispering. "She's not denying it," one said. "If anything." The article was kind. "You think she's really coming back?" I didn't step in. Didn't correct them. I just smiled to myself and moved on. The next morning, Naomi called. "They're asking for a follow-up interview, a public one. They want your name now." I took a breath. I'd told myself I didn't want credit, that it wasn't about recognition, but maybe it wasn't about ego. Maybe it was about truth. "Let's do it," I said. Hours later, the story was updated with my photo, an old headshot from a pitch deck years ago. Underneath a new line. She was never gone. She just stopped being seen. That's when the real messages began. Not trolls, not threats, support. From women who had been pushed out of the companies they helped build. From employees who finally understood why things felt wrong, but couldn't explain it. Even from former board members who said, "We should have fought harder for you." Should have. Could have didn't. But that was okay, because I wasn't waiting for their permission anymore. The invitation came 3 days after the exposé went public. Subject line: "We'd like to talk." No one signed it, but I didn't need a name. I knew it came from the board. They wanted to meet, to discuss options, to find a path forward. Translation: the investors were panicking. The employees were asking questions, and the face they had erased was suddenly the only one with any credibility left. Funny how quickly people remember you when the building starts to burn. The meeting took place in a different room than the one I used to lead. The old space, my favorite one with the long wood table and chalkboard wall, had been converted into a podcast studio. Of course it had. Now they sat in slick, glass-lined rooms with artfully dim lights and energy-draining jargon. But that day, they didn't speak like executives. They spoke like people who had just realized they backed the wrong person for too long. "We know now we made mistakes," one of them said nervously. "There's a chance here to rewrite the narrative," said another. And then Marissa spoke, or tried to. She opened her mouth, but the words were too careful, too shallow. She thanked me for returning with grace. I let her speak. Let them all try to reframe the mess they created, and when they finally asked, "What do you want?" I didn't hesitate. "I want nothing from you," I said. "No title, no check, no staged photo op." Their brows lifted in surprise. Marissa looked almost relieved. Then I continued, "But I will be building again, just not with you." I walked out of that building for the second time in my life. Only this time I wasn't leaving anything behind. I was taking back everything that mattered: my name, my vision, and the belief that leadership isn't about who sits at the top. It's about who shows up quietly, consistently, and with a broom if necessary. 2 months later, I launched a new initiative. Ground Floor, a leadership collective dedicated to mentoring women and marginalized founders from the inside out. No ivory towers, no buzzwords, just real people, real impact. Some of my former employees joined, so did Layla. She leads our employee advocacy arm. Now I trust her with everything, and in the front entrance of our small downtown office, there's a glass case, inside a beige janitor's uniform. It hangs there perfectly pressed, no plaque beneath it, no caption needed. Because the people who matter, they already know what it means. I wasn't trying to teach them a lesson. I wasn't trying to humiliate anyone. I just wanted the truth to exist somewhere other than in my memory. Now it does. Not because I shouted, not because I fought harder, but because I refused to disappear. So if you've ever been erased, if you've ever been told you're too much, too old, too different, remember this. You don't need the corner office to take back your story. Sometimes all you need is the courage to walk back through the front door, holding the mop they handed you, and show them you still know how to build a foundation, even if you have to start by sweeping theirs clean.